the left. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. If my parting has left a void, then fill it and remember joy. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. Roy loved having a good time. He liked telling funny stories. He liked hearing them. Now we're going to have some folks come up, and I'm sure they'll have one or two for you. Who's going to speak for the coffee club? Okay, sir. Come, please.
As Bill said, Roy did like to have a good time, and I will coffee booth like to have a good time. We started about 17, 18 years ago, and I think Roy joined us probably about 10 years ago. But we immediately felt his presence in the group because as soon as we broke up the first meeting, all of a sudden we all had coupons from Whataburger. And Roy had connived, and he continued to do probably at least once a month for the next 10 years. Connived coupons and free breakfast rolls from the management staff down there at the Whataburger. And if you look closely last week, you noticed that the Whataburger profit, stock profit, started climbing on me. Another thing we talk about, what we used to do, as most coffee groups do, is you talk about the world events and you solve all the problems, which we do. But we used to humor each other and kind of make fun of each other. And one of the things that we talked with Roy about was the fact that he was the consummate salesman, as most of you who knew him knew. He was always selling, always had this great smile on his face, always happy to see somebody. And he always prided himself with the idea that he could remember names and faces from years ago. So we were all quite confused one day when he finally realized that he had been calling Spence King, one of our members, by Vince for about 10 years. And then I guess another item that we kind of kidded Roy about was his mechanical ability. He was truly lacking in that area. He'd call on Spence for a lot of support because Spence had more mechanical ability than all of us put together. But a couple of times Roy called on Spence and he'd ask him to come over because his hedge clipper, his electric hedge clipper, was always messed up. It wouldn't work right. Well, on 2 occasions that we know of, and there probably were more, it was because Roy clipped the cord rather than the hedge. But anyway, he was a good man. We really enjoyed him, a great comrade, and we sure had a lot of fun with him at the breakfast group. So we will miss him.
Thank you very much. Now I know why I'm challenged mechanically. It's in the genes. Now, who is representing the poker group?
That would be me.
Please come. Please come ahead.
Thank you. In case you don't know me, my name is Bill Hartley. I've known Roy since 1987 when we moved here, and we've been playing poker together ever since then. Ingrid asked me to say a few words about Roy's glorious adventures at the poker table. Let me first, though, introduce the players, the other people that were involved in this thing. Of course, it was me, Spence Geen, George Spence Geen, Roger Lyon, I think he's here, yeah, Roger, Doug Geary, John Voss, Chuck McVeigh, of course myself, and occasionally we had to call in some extras. It was Rick Champion occasionally, Tom Timothy, and from a long time ago, Ken Lilly. Also, there's a couple of players that have gone ahead to set up a table elsewhere for Roy, and they're waiting for him to deal the next hand. That's Ben Juergens and Mike Carucci. So here we go. Roy had a passion for poker. I mean, a passion for it. He loved to play the game, but more than that, I think he loved to host the game. He loved to host the game in his house. He loved to arrange for the players to come in He arranged for breaks for food, and he just loved to be in charge of the poker game as we run along. We had one problem over that. Roy moved a lot. We had a hard time keeping up with it. Every time we turned around, it was a new venue that we were going to play poker. But we did manage to keep track of him pretty good. Plus, we got to see a lot of the neighborhoods around here, free of charge of kind of just on Roy's behalf. Roy did have one major shortfall as a host, and several of the players here can vouch for this. Roy liked to keep his house quite warm, like 80 degrees, winter or summer. We would swelter while Roy enjoyed the ambiance of the 80 degrees. Sometimes some of us actually brought our own fans and plugged them in. But we managed. Roy also had this huge light right above the table. It must have been 1,000 watts. It shone down. And while we sweltered and he enjoyed it, we thought more of the fact that we were probably at the police station getting an interrogation from Sergeant Joe Friday and his friends. But we persevered and put up with it and enjoyed it all the same. Roy's endurance was also a slight problem on occasions. He loved to set the games up, but he was always the first one to say, "I'm ready to quit." If it was somewhere else, he says, "I'm going to just quit and go home." Well, on one occasion, he did it at his house. He says, "I'm tired of playing, I'm going to go to bed. You guys lock up when you're finished." Well, he did, and we did. But we enjoyed it all the same. But overall, we can count on Roy to be quite a generous contributor to the pot every time we played a hand. Roy loved to play the game, and he dreaded, he hated to fold a hand. A lot of times it wasn't worth even looking at, but he still liked to play. He overplayed his hand, and I think he just liked to throw chips in the pot and listen to them tingle. But all things considered, Roy, these were minor faults. We happily put up with them, we happily put up with him, and now we wish we could again. Roy, you're going to always be in our thoughts, especially when we play cards. We'll continue to play, but it'll never be the same without Roy sitting at the table. You can be replaced, we'll never try. The most important thing, though, is you are a friend to all of us, and we'll miss you with all our hearts. Roy, I got a feeling that probably about right now you're showing up at the pearly gates, and you're holding a royal flush and telling them you want in, and you'll make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Marie, Ingrid and Roy's niece. She probably traveled the farthest to be here since she came flying over from Sweden.
My favorite Uncle Roy. I was 7 years old when Roy came into my life, some 40 years ago. My mother told me one day that her sister Ingrid was bringing her American husband to Sweden for the first time. Mom and her other sister and a friend of theirs was fortunate enough to be able to attend the beautiful wedding between Roy and Ingrid, but I was too small to come. We found out that Roy had Indian ancestors, which we thought was so exciting. When Roy first came to Sweden, we almost expected to see him dressed in Indian outfit. Well, we're disappointed. I didn't speak English then, but that did not stop us from communicating. And after some years, when we returned with Ingrid, I had her some work. I always felt comfortable in Roy's company. He didn't mind my poor English, and my mother didn't speak a word of English, but they got along beautifully, didn't they? But the language barrier didn't seem to be a problem for them. I remember Roy taught me and my twin sister a little rhyme, which was most helpful to us when pronouncing the G in English, which was very fun. And he went, jumping Jim, whatever that meant. We thought it was so fun. And in return, we taught him an old traditional Swedish song, Mors lisa är vi allihopa, which means we're all mother's small pigs. He got really good